if someone doesn't know how to taper, if you're a coach, they don't know how to taper, it's probably because they didn't have a handle on the preceding training phases throughout the season. Do our ribbons and bronze kids need a taper? No, not really. Silver and gold, yes, a little bit. As they get into the senior groups, even more so. And with those younger groups, those kids, the taper is more of just becoming a focus on skills and getting excited to compete and being a part of the team. History of tapering, prior to 1960, the prevailing thought was that you would increase the athlete's training volume and intensity to its highest point, and then you would go to your meet. So it'd be like us swimming hard through Christmas break and then having our big meet the next day. The coaches believed that this would bring the athletes to their peak performance of the meet. They now realize that was the opposite effect, caused a lot of swimmers to be tired going into those end of the season meets. 70s and 80s, there was a different approach to training and tapering. The swimmers finished their heaviest training load a few weeks prior to their big meet. This reduced period of training leading into the competition was actually became known as tapering. This allowed the athletes to recover and prepare for a high level of performance. I think the last 10 to 15 years there's been even more research done on trying to figure out, demystifying the taper, I guess, so to speak. There's been a lot more focus on the physiological effects of the taper on the athletes, and they've tried to chart percentage of improvements with athletes to try and get a handle on how much can you actually improve with reps. It shows that the duration of a peak performance or a taper can last for 7 to 10 days without any additional training. So you can go to a meet and compete, and that you may come back for the next 3 or 4 days of practice and feel great. And so for 7 to 10 days you can still hold on and swim fast without any training. If you have an opportunity to train in between, you can do 2 or 3 short tapers or tapers within the next 1 to 2 months of the initial taper if the training time's available. But once again, it's a highly individualized time of the season. Some factors affecting taper. We look at training background. Those athletes that swim on a year-round basis can taper a little longer and have a little bit better possibility of being able to taper multiple times at the end of the year. We look at an athlete's age. Generally, the younger the athlete, the shorter the taper, due to the fact that the kids seem to recover faster from training. And secondly, the younger kids don't necessarily train at a high enough volume to be able to taper too long. The gender differences also play a factor in tapering. Females seem to recover faster than males, resulting in less time to taper to reach that peak. Body composition. Generally, the more muscular the person, the longer the taper. Longer taper time needed to recover. The athlete's mental state. I think an athlete that constantly worries about their performance or is always nervous shouldn't be tapered as long. It gives them too much time too much downtime to think about what's going to happen, down the road. So, those kids that are mentally on an even keel, I think we can rest a little bit longer leading into that meet. Obviously, the events that the athletes compete in, sprinters versus middle distance versus distance swimmers, those athletes that compete in the shorter races, 50s and 100s, can taper longer than those competing in the middle distance and distance races due to the aerobic nature of those competitions. So what can you guys do to try and help have a successful taper for your swimmers, or you as swimmers, what can you do? One of the obvious ones is nutrition. Talked about Brad's talk. That's great information. That's stuff that needs to be done now. Put into play right now. You can't wait until the day before the meet and eat something healthy and expect it to get anything out of it. We've got 3, 4, 5 weeks from now. If you can start changing your diet around a little bit, it can make a big difference. Hydration. Brad also touched on that. Also, I was kind of surprised at how much water, and I think it's probably because you guys are in the water, you don't realize how much water weight you lose and how much you have to drink after a workout to replenish that. The same thing goes for meets. The next thing, sleep. I think it's similar to the nutrition. it's great to get a good night's sleep before you compete, but I think it's more important to make sure you're getting enough sleep, you know, the week to 2 weeks before the big meet. It's kind of a cumulative effect. I think that making sure that, you know, as the kids get more energy because of the rest, making sure that they're doing things that they're not staying up late. There's, you know, no sleepovers the weekend before the big meet. You know, those kinds of things. Making sure that, you know, they invest a lot of time in training. We want to make sure they give them every opportunity to perform well at the end of the year. So I think sleep's also very important. Rest in and out of the pool. You know, that's what tapering is. We do it in the pool to allow the body to adapt to the training. So you need to let the body recover outside of the pool also. Don't counteract what we do in the pool by going out and running extra, or, you know, playing the big soccer tournament, or, you know, shoveling snow, you know, those kinds of things. And I'm not saying that, you know, Johnny or Susie shouldn't be doing anything around the house. That's not what I'm saying. But being smart about what you're doing at the end of the season. Mental readiness and focus. I think one of the biggest things is that, you know, the athletes need to take care of the controllables, the things that they have control over, and that's really the only thing they have control over is themselves. Swimmers and parents, I think it's important not to focus on swimming against another competitor. I think that if you focus all that energy on trying to beat a rival or a teammate, then it's not beneficial use of energy. I think it's important to stay calm and confident and positive during this time. I think the other thing is that a lot of times you'll see swimmers make it harder than what it is. You know, don't spend the weeks and days leading into the meet stressing about all the what ifs, what could go wrong at the upcoming meet. You know, all we're asking as coaches is for the kids to swim a set distance faster than what they've done in the past. It's pretty basic, pretty simple. Don't make it harder than what it is. Don't cut corners. You know, we're already cutting back the workload at practice during taper, so make sure that you complete what the workout calls for. If you cut back too early, then you end up being ready to go a day or two before we want you to. So make sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and do it to the best of your ability. I think that too often warm up and warm down get neglected at this time, and I think that, you know, the importance of making sure that you're warmed up so you're ready to do a good job during that day's taper workout, and making sure that you warm down well enough afterwards so that you're ready to do a good job at the end or for the next day. You know, we talk about making sure that we don't do anything stupid that could affect the outcome at the end of the season meet. We've got I had a group of boys when I first started coaching, leading in to the state meet. They did a team dinner. There used to be a big team bonding thing the night before we'd leave, and one of the boys grabbed one of the other boys and picked him up and slammed him on the ground, broke his collarbone, and that was that. We were the fastest seed in the 200 medley relay going into the state meet, and we lost our freestyler at the end of that relay. And of course I didn't believe that he was really hurt, and came in the next day and we made him try and get in and swim, and found out that really he did break it. But you know, those are things that you got to be smart about. Don't invest all this time and energy in it and then blow it right at the end. I like the saying, 100% right is 100% right, 99% right is 100% wrong. Don't cut corners. Make corrections. I think taper time is one of the best times to try and make technique corrections. Your body isn't as tired, you're mentally more fresh. I think it's easier for kids to focus and hone in on what they're trying to do and have the ability to make that appropriate correction. So I think that's a real important time to try and do that.